Welcome to the Two Beasts podcast, where best friends Chris and Ollie try and figure out this complicated thing we call life. We hope you enjoy.
Alright,
That's this pod fucked already.
this pod's fucked. Right, we're in. That's us.
Are we in?
That's us, we're in.
Oh shit. Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh
Hello,
god.
welcome back.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
Two Beast Podcast, we're back. Hello.
Another episode, another morning, another
Eating a
pod.
bagel. Hold on.
That's fine, mate. Just take your time. Eat that scran. Enjoy that scran.
I tried to cover the mic so you didn't hear the swallow there, but apologies if you did. Especially if you're in a car driving somewhere
Yeah.
with family members.
We need that thing like Rogan's got. I heard him the other day on the when he had. Who did he have on? Somebody. And he has like a button that you can press. It's like a coughing button. So when you want to cough, it like dampens. You can't hear. He like sort of takes you. You can be like right up next to the mic, but it will sort of sound like he's miles away. It's weird.
There's definitely some guests that just don't fucking use that feature. I've been listening to Joe Rogan's ones before, and it's
Yeah,
like,
and they just cough.
guys just been coughing. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, even the goats.
Yeah.
Even the goats.
This was Graham Hancock, and he's been on like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And he's like, Joe's like, yeah, use the cough button. Use the cough button. He's like, oh, didn't realise I could.
God damn it, Graham Hancock. Who do you think you are?
Yeah, interesting guy.
Yeah, I like
Very
him.
interesting guy.
I like him. Well, I was saying to you, we're back with a new episode. We can very confidently say now that this will be episode 18. We can start numbering them
Episode
again.
18.
'Cause
Two
we're not-
off the big 2-0.
Because we're not doing so many guest ones now because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, we've dialed back on that. It's a little bit. It is a little bit easier to track in some regards. Like, we're not all over the shop with.
But I was saying to you, I am feeling the pod vibes today this week. Unlike last week, I am feeling the pod vibes today. But one thing I'm not feeling is remotely fucking serious.
It's going to be a funny
Not
one. This one.
into it today. Not feeling the business vibe today.
Oh, no.
Haven't got the suitcase out in the mental.
That could be interesting then. This could be an interesting one.
But I did have a conversation I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about humility today. I think that's what it would be. Basically,
Being humble.
yeah, kind of. Or like, it's not even that. It's like the reason that I wanted to talk about humility on the pod is I've become a bit. I'm quite a deep thinker. This might surprise you to know. I think quite deeply upon things, and one of the things that I thought about recently is like, why do I fucking hate everyone that's not like me?
Yeah, it's a pretty savage statement, that, isn't it? Why do I hate everyone that's not like me?
And so there's a couple of reasons why I think that's a fun conversation. One, because obviously we can all get so wrapped up into thinking that our way is the best way.
Correct.
That we can end up putting other people down or assuming that other people that aren't on our particular path are dickheads.
Or doing something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever, you know.
Equally, there are a lot of dickheads that also happen coincidentally to not be following our path, but are just useless in all things. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about where that line kind of gets drawn. Where do you draw the line between, deciding that somebody is just a bit fucking useless and leaving them alone, and also just not being too wrapped up in thinking your way is the best way, so that you can still have positive relationships with as many people as possible. Because that's ultimately what it's all about, isn't it? You don't want to go around feeling angry at stuff all the time.
No, there's no need. There's really no need.
Well, there might be some need. That's what we discussed today.
Well, maybe there's some need, but I guess depending on what it is, right? I mean, this type of topic of conversation could go down many avenues, couldn't it? Like you could start to go down like the Buddhist route, which is obviously being compassionate and trying to love everyone trying to love everyone basically. Or there's many other routes that you can go down in terms of how you perceive everyone. But I guess a good place to start would be to start to distinguish between those the two types of people you mentioned. I guess essentially the difference in either is the perceived lack of purpose, and then a purpose that is a purpose but is different to your own purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, those are all the exciting things we're going to get into today. But first, we've got some very important conversations to have. Most notably, have you kept up with this week's challenge? This week's challenge was, of course, the 10 minutes of meditation every day.
Correct.
Have you? It's Saturday, so technically we filmed the last one on Sunday, I believe.
1 day left.
So technically we've got 1 day left. But so far, are you free from the chaos of the bag of forfeits that we were thinking of? I
am.
Cool. Me too.
Yeah. 10 minutes a day. I've been doing it in the morning. It sounds like you've been doing it in the evening.
Yeah, we're doing both. I've got I've had a bit of a workaround on one of the days, but I'll see if it qualifies as a pass or not for you. If not, I might have my hand in that bag of tricks. For explanation, I don't know if we've explained this on the podcast yet, but we said that there would be some kind of forfeit if we didn't complete the challenge each week.
That's what we decided, yeah.
We have now gone a bit further down the road on deciding what that will be. What we're going to do is we're going to have a little pot here with a load of forfeits written on a bit of paper, and then we'll just mix them up, and then we'll just pick one at random, and then we have to do that thing.
Yeah.
So do you have one on the...
I have one from the previous challenge of stretching because I missed a day. Mm-hmm. I feel like I already know what I want my forfeit to be.
You don't get to pick.
I don't, but you can decide whether you want this to be my forfeit or not.
Okay. No.
Oh.
No, go on, say it anyway.
Because I've been wanting to try this for ages. So I was thinking I would cut out all the bullshit forms of sugar for a week.
Nah, it's too easy.
All right.
It's too easy because you want to do it.
It doesn't make it a forfeit then at that point, does it? All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
In which case, I will pick from this pot of truth.
I will give you... listen, what I'll do is I will put that as an option in the pot of truth.
What have we got currently?
I'm about to find the list now.
There's that. There was... running a marathon. Was it something to do? No, not running a marathon. What was it?
There was. Running a marathon was on. I fucking abused my notes so much that actually finding anything... Oh, right. So, okay, here's the list as follows. 24-hour fast. Yeah. Nice, easy, simple one, but just a little bit of an inconvenience if you've got work and that in the week.
Yeah.
The other one, 48-hour fast, which is a much bigger...
That's a bit savage.
...fucking problem.
That's a bit savage.
But you can do it whenever. It's not necessarily if we fail a challenge and we have to forfeit it, you just know that you have to do one of those at some point. As long as you're not already planning one. That's the main trick. So I'll explain what that means going on. No coffee for 3 days is one. Mm-hmm. No coffee for 7 days is one. So you've got okay ones.
I'm praying that you get that one.
Mate, these are why I've desperately kept it. This is the only things that made me stick to the meditating this week, because I find it boring as fuck. Yeah. Especially when I haven't got anything I'm worried about.
Yeah.
To sit down and just be silent for a couple minutes just pisses me off. So no coffee for 7 days was 100% the reason I stuck through this week. So this is where it's important. So the other one is +1 marathon. Right, and we'll also put +1 half marathon. Again, that's an okay, you've been lucky and you've been fucked. The thing with the +1 marathon, because we're training to run the 100k in July anyway. Yeah. If you were already planning on doing a marathon, that doesn't count. So it's got to be an extra marathon on top of whatever's in our training plan.
That might be the worst one.
That is probably the worst one.
Currently, so far.
But the good news is, as we train, that will get easier and easier.
Yeah, that is true.
So as long as we can kick the can down the road.
Yeah, as long as that one stays in the pot for as long as humanly possible.
Well, the other thing is, the more forfeits we come up with, the less chance that marathon comes up. Yeah. So that's pretty fucking sweet. Yeah. And the other thing I came up with, because there was a reduction in price on the little meal deal sushis that you get, you have to eat an entire sachet of that wasabi just straight.
Yeah, that's pretty shit.
But that's also over pretty quick too.
Yeah, that's like a one done quick shot. Thank you very much.
You've got a lucky one there. Yeah. Some of these are, I think that's what I like about this idea of having the forfeits be a range of things we pick from a hat, because some of them just aren't that bad.
No.
A wasabi one, you feel like you've been given a second chance by God.
Yeah.
You would just fucking
You might be violently sick for like
you
a few minutes and then
it's
you'd be
not
fine.
the sachet's small. You'd be like fucking, oh, this is a bit grim, and then you just move on with your day.
Yeah.
It's like having a tablespoon of salt. You'd just be like, oh, this sucks, but you get over it.
Yeah, you get on with it.
That's all I've got so far. But if you have any more ideas out there for potential forfeits for failing the weekly challenge, let me know. Ollie is currently on 1, so maybe next episode we'll try and actually sort that bowl out. Get a few more added in, get like 10 more added in.
Yeah.
And then we'll get you to pick from the bowl.
We need to get the 2 Beast forfeit bowl.
A 2 Beast forfeit bowl.
We'll have a cool, semi-cool design.
Then
because it's probably going to spend the rest of however many episodes we ever do sat on this table.
Yeah. Well, then we have to document you completing the forfeit for stories and social media.
I'll do it on the social, don't worry.
So people can follow along with that.
Don't worry.
On the
follow my misery.
Social medias at 2 Beast Podcast on pretty much all socials. I don't think we've got any creative social media handles.
No. No, it does what it says on the tin, our social media.
Should we do, I think we've done it at the end last time, but I didn't feel like we had enough time. Should we do the 11 minutes into this pod, by the way, and we've done fuck all about the actual topic yet.
Good.
Should we do our image generation game?
Yeah.
So what image we're going to generate this week?
This week, the image generation game, which you will have seen probably at this point when this goes out, you will have started to have seen a couple of these already on the old socials.
If you were on the socials at 2 Beast Podcast, then you will have seen some element of this, yes.
Yeah, which is we both pick a like a phrase or the beginning of a sentence that is then a prompt that goes into an AI generation thing.
Yeah.
It then generates said image. We then put that image on social.
Basically, one of us starts a sentence, one of us finishes a sentence.
Yeah.
Together it makes a prompt that we can put into Midjourney. Midjourney creates us an image based on our prompt.
Boom.
And it's just a bit of fun for social media. So this week, I think you started the phrase last week.
Yeah.
So I'll start this week.
Honestly, can't remember what that was.
I'll start this week with a fat Pikachu.
Ooh. Shaves Ash Ketchum's head.
There you go. That'll be a fun prompt for the
Pokemon-based prompt there.
So if you're watching on TikTok right now, that image has just popped up on screen.
Yeah. And on Instagram and all the rest of it.
Enjoy that. Enjoy that image there. That is from this week's segment of Let's Fucking Abuse AI.
That's what it's going to be called. We're going to have a little theme song in the title and everything.
One more question before we get to the serious stuff.
Oh no.
Now, we were having this conversation as we were setting up. Obviously, as we set up, it takes 5-10 minutes, whatever, to get the light up and all the cameras up and all everything.
Yeah.
And we were just chit-chatting about random nonsense. And I was singing a song by a local band called Horse Divorce called Too Many Tinnies. And the lyrics goes, or the chorus goes, I've had too many tinnies. Tinnies, of course, being canned alcohol for anyone outside of the United States, outside of the UK, sorry. Like, I don't know, Carlsberg, Guinness, whatever's in a can. Like loads of stuff are in a can, eh?
Yeah.
The question we had, and the question I will pose to you now, and maybe you've had some time to think, is how many tinnies is too many? Now, obviously, it's easy to say a ridiculous number, but I mean exactly. What's the exact number of too many tinnies?
Well, for us, 1 is too many. Because we're both sober gentlemen.
Yes. But the average. I suppose you can't do an exact...
I guess it varies upon how many said tinnies you can put away, right?
Yeah.
Which varies from person to person.
Okay, so let's change it to the average. The average number.
Okay, so now you've got to go with alcohol content. How much alcohol content is in a tinny?
Asking for the exact average, which it seems like it shouldn't be doable, but it is. Like, if you were to actually calculate the average, it would say like 3.3 cans on average is too many tinnies. What? Obviously, that's a random number there, but what is the actual number?
But what does too many mean?
Too many? Well, this is it. I mean, I would say too many tinnies is when you
Is it when you started to go a bit, whoa, or when is it you're flat on your face? That's it.
Nah, I think it's probably when you are in trouble. You know, when like you've drunk enough and you're like, oh fuck, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah.
You start feeling nauseous. Things start getting a bit too dizzy. You start not really responding to people talking to you because you're like, oh nah, I'm on the way out, boys. That's too many. At whatever point you would go, oh fuck, I've had too many.
I would say 5.
I think 5 is the average.
For me, 5.
5
For the
too many
average,
there's some people that can put away a lot of.
this is what I mean. So therefore, the average is maybe like, I mean, I guess if you're one of those like mentalists and you can put away like you're going into like double figures, because there are those people out there. But then you also get those people who have 1 and they're like. So I would say maybe 5 or 6 average.
I think too many tinnies is about 8.5, right? That's the number I'll go for. I think it's skewed by some serious wreckheads.
Yeah.
Like serious alkies.
Yeah.
I think for most people, if they've had like 6 or 7 tinnies,
They're going to be out.
They'd be pretty fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever gone past like...
So what did you say?
8.5.
Okay.
And the reason for the 0.5 is that in my drinking days, when I used to drink on my own like a sado, I used to I'd always start a can and then go, oof, nah. And then that can would end up in the fridge.
Yeah.
So there would always be that tipping point where I'd go, nah, I've had enough. I don't think that before you know it's too many,
Okay.
you will have opened another one.
Well, just for bants, I'll go 7.25.
7.25.
Yeah, so someone's done 7 and not even made it through their 8th.
Are we going to have any way to authenticate this? No.
No, it's just a bit of fun.
Bit of fun. How many tinnies do you think is too many tinnies in the comment? A question made famous by
Horse
Divorce.
Shout out.
A great punk rock band that you should also listen to.
Shout out.
There you are.
Are they on Spotify?
Yeah,
there you
they're
go.
on Spotify, and we can even put their music over this short if we make this into a short.
Hey, that would be good.
It's on Instagram.
That would be good. Have they got any instrumentals though? That's the question.
You don't really need them, mate.
Just quiet it down enough, it might be alright.
Yeah. I've had too many tinnies. Right. So, let's have a go at the actual conversation, shall we? I can't really be asked now. I told you, I'm not really in a serious mood today. I can't really be fucked.
But you've posed the question, so now we must talk about said question.
endeavour to oblige my previous wishes from 17 minutes ago and 23 seconds. Right, empathy. I suppose I'll go into why I'm asking this question. Like I said, we are big believers in fitness. We are big believers in facing adversity willingly rather than letting it happen to us. Happen into life rather than it happening to us. And what else are we in favour of generally? What kind of categories of camp do we fit in? We are the classic kind of productive types, the break out of the system types, the...
improve your mind, improve your body.
We are classic self-improvement guys. We're into it.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
Striving for the next thing that will allow us to level up, as it were.
Leveling
If we
up.
were an RPG character in a video game,
Yeah.
it would be the next set. We are always looking for that next set of experience-y little orb things that you go and collect in
Trying
order
to get those skill points up.
Yeah, to try and get your skill, to get the next skill point. That's how I would sort of phrase it.
If you were a Skyrim character, what specs do you think your character would have? What points? What skills? Like, you know, the like sneak, archery, fucking
Certainly wouldn't be archery.
2 hands. Like, what would they pretty much, I guess it's, go on.
I have no idea. I'd like to think I'm pretty sneaky. I'd put sneak in there. Like, I'm small, I'm quite, you know what I mean? I like blend in pretty well. Space efficient, all that. Relatively intelligent. Got a bit of charisma.
Please. This fucking guy.
What? Well, I'm not going to sit there and go, oh, mate, got two-handed skills, am I? You know what I mean?
All right. Maybe
I've never held a big battle axe in my life.
You're right. I think most people in the context of Skyrim would be pretty much all points in speech and charisma.
Yeah.
But it's pretty sad to think that some of those people would still have 0 points.
Yeah.
All right, better question. If you were in Skyrim, what weapon what would your skill set of weapon be? Would you be an archer? Would you be a one-handed dude? Would you be two-handed?
What's this got to do with being humble?
Bit of fun, innit?
Oh, right, okay. This is that funny part of the podcast that we're
No, this is just a bit, I can't be fucked to have a serious discussion.
You do everything to navigate the serious discussion. I don't know, whenever I played it, I was always the sneaky archer type.
Yeah, but everyone was. But I mean, what would you be, like, in real life?
I feel like I'd still be that, except I probably wouldn't be an archer because I can't fire well. I haven't fired an arrow in a long time.
Do you think you'd do better on the ground?
I think I'd maybe like a couple of little daggers or something, you know what I mean? Like
I can see that. Little daggers sneaking up behind people.
Little sneak attack, boy.
I love the idea of two-handed. It's a big old fucking mace.
A big brute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just getting close and personal.
Yeah.
And fucking bonk them on the head. Yeah. Close and personal, but at the same time, you're still a good metre away.
Yeah.
So that they can't sneak you with a little dagger or something. You just got this big, long pole of death that you just absolutely clop people with. The reason I was
class,
right, this thing about empathy that I keep going on about and then steering away from because I can't really be fucked.
Get focused. Give the people what they want.
Yeah, so with your classic self-improvement types, and obviously we have a predisposition, all of us humans, to think that our way is the best way, and maybe not that ours is the only way, but I think it also does end up being that case where if you think yours is the best way, then why would you take another way, right? So it's pretty much the same thing.
Especially if your way is proven and you've done a lot of it. If you're just sitting there saying something, but you've never actually put the evidence towards it to prove it, it's probably a little bit rubbish. But if you've actually done the work and you've put the evidence in.
The problem is truth is based on experience to a lot of degrees, isn't it? Like someone else could have done a different strategy and also seen success with that. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's because their way also works. Maybe it's just because it's not that our way works, just things work out in life. Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I said about at the start, where you've got two different types of people. You've got the people who've got a purpose, but a purpose that's different to yours, and then people that are completely without a purpose, and they're just sort of bumbling through life. And
do you place a value on what the purpose is? Because someone's purpose in life could be to execute human beings. That's not really ideal, is it?
No.
So even if we can separate, and say, yeah, well, look, the trick is if you don't have a purpose, then you're a wanker. But if you do have a purpose, you're okay, and you should be respected regardless of the path that you take within that purpose. But that's not really...
Yeah, maybe it's not quite as simple as that. Maybe it's not quite as the two. So maybe it's the two... Maybe it's like one of their flow diagrams.
One of their flow
diagrams. And it's got like the two to start. Okay, now we're going to go like split off into two more. You know what I mean? It just like continuously grows, which obviously makes the quote line quite a murky, sort of squiggly, and you haven't got a ruler and you just sort of like try and freehand the line and it's got a couple of sort of curves in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. It's a bit like... It's a bit murky. It's tricky, isn't it? Because like you said, with somebody's purpose, I mean, and again, this is another talking point where it's like it's completely different to person, but in my eyes, if you've got a purpose, as long as that purpose is benefiting you and is benefiting the people around you and is some form of improvement, and this is just my own opinion, that is what I would have a lot of respect and a lot of admiration for a person to have, because they've actually found a path, whatever the path is, regardless of what they do, as long as that is their purpose and their sort of focus, like that is the initial part, doesn't matter what that is the bit that I would respect them. Whereas if someone who's kind of like bumbling through life, it's not that I would say I don't have any respect for them, but I just think like there needs to come, and I think that we talked about this when I was doing the shorts the other day for maybe one before or something like that. We talk about like purpose and finding a purpose and feel like we've kind of found that purpose a little bit now. I think it does take a good few years. And I think unless you're sort of that way inclined, it's quite a tricky thing to try and find. You know, you can spend years of your life trying to, you know, crisscross and try and find the right purpose. And I think it does. I think some people it comes very quickly and very naturally, and other people have to work and sort of try and dig very deep in order to find what their purpose is.
I think purpose also changes based on age and what period of life you're in as well. Because I've noticed
circumstance, all the rest of it.
I've noticed a lot of older men, let's say, like elderly men. Maybe this is accounted for because it's wisdom, or maybe it's just how physically our brains are wired differently as we get older. We don't produce as much testosterone, all the rest of it. There's all that factor of it. But men that are like older than the fighting age typically seem to transition from a period of purpose like we were talking about, where it's about going out, suffering, struggling, bringing food home for the camp, that kind of vibe, to I just want to understand people, connect with family, keep my community together, and it's all about compassion and all that shit. Like that's typically where the focus comes.
You become like a wise elder.
Yeah, kind of. It's all about keeping the community together.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether or not that's because of, like I say, is that because they've become wise and now they understand that a lot of the fighting that we do as young people is stupid, which is probably a degree of truth to. Or is it just literally a physical, scientific thing because they don't have as much fight in them now because they're physically, you know, less able, and so they just say, you know what, my new purpose now is to just fucking be nice.
It's probably a bit of both, right? I think you're right there in terms of like the age definitely plays a factor. Like when you're young, you have one purpose, and then as you get older and you have kids and grandkids and whatever, that sort of starts to change. That changes your purpose. Circumstance can change your purpose, you know. Like if you're on one path and you're like, oh, I'm going to run a business, it's going to be great, I've got this business I've started, blah, blah, blah. Then you go bankrupt, then you're back to square one, your purpose has to change. But I think the underlying thing is that you have some form of direction or purpose, whatever you want to call it, direction, purpose, life goal, like whatever it is. There has to be something that drives what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're not just going out willy-nilly doing whatever.
Yeah, not just drifting.
You're not just drifting, exactly.
Well, the other thing with, all right, it's safe to establish then that people without purpose are probably not worth at least like dedicating time and energy on. Would you say that?
I guess it kind of depends what angle you want to come at it from. And I guess that kind of leads back into what I was saying about the sort of the different approaches. Because what I would do is I would go, the underlying thing would probably be yes. But I wouldn't do it in a way like we were talking about before we started, in terms of, oh, well, he's never going to amount to anything. Fuck him, whatever. Because that's not the way you, like, I feel like if our purpose is to help and benefit the community, then people like that, you don't want to give your entire energy to, because you've still got your purpose and your focus and all the rest of it. But if you can just give them little bits of something that maybe makes them go, oh, maybe I should try and find a purpose.
Yeah, if you could be a admirable enough person for them to be inspired by your actions and then take a follow suit.
That's what I love about this podcast. And I feel like even if just one little clip or one episode gives one person that sort of change in their life to go, maybe I do actually want to do something more than just sort of sat drifting, not doing a whole lot. That's like amazing, you know, and to be that person feels great. But again, that's then helping other people, isn't it? Regardless of what their situation is and whether they might be drifting and they don't have a purpose or whatever, I still feel like you can show some compassion towards them and go, you don't have to you don't have to sit there and go, right, man, we're going to sit you down and we're going to give you a business plan, we're going to give you a training program, and you're going to do this, this, and this, and everything's going to be amazing. Because you can't give that much time and energy to every single person you meet.
No.
But I think what you can do, like you say, is be some form of, I don't want to say like beacon of light, but like, you know what I mean? Some respectable, admirable character that you can give to people that makes them go, shit, he seems to be doing something right. Like he's got some things going for him. You know,
Well,
and I
what
don't
we'll
even
do-
necessarily think that needs to be talking to someone. I think that can just be in your actions and what you do day to day. They see you in the gym every day. They see you going to work every day. They see you putting the hours in. They see how you talk to people. They see, you know what I mean? Like all of these things can just be the trigger between one person going, not really sure what I'm doing, to them being like, oh, maybe there is something more for me out there. What's up, winners? If you're loving this podcast, make sure to drop us a 5-star review on Spotify. And if you aren't already, be sure to follow us on our social media channels. That's YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. 2 Beast Podcast, the number 2 Beast Podcast. Let's get back to the show.
All right, what are you saying? What are you saying, pod?
We're back in.
What are you saying, pod? Are we back on?
We're back on.
I think we're back on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing about like being a beacon of hope to the community or whatever. The only thing that worries me about taking that as a stance or like taking that as a goal or an objective, you know, I want to be someone that inspires people, is that you can definitely try too hard too soon.
Correct.
Like you can suddenly start thinking that you've got something to tell people when you've got fuck all to tell people. And maybe we'll be guilty of that on this pod sometimes because, you know, we're obviously talking about stuff. I don't know how many times we've got to say that we're not the 2 beasts yet. We're on the journey there, right?
Maybe we should change our name to the not 2 Beast
Not
Podcast.
quite yet.
Not
2
quite
Beast
yet.
Podcast.
2 Beast Podcast.
Change all our social handles.
Yeah.
No.
We'll have not quite in brackets at the start.
No, because that, frankly, will be a pain in the fucking ass, and
will
I
be a pain.
can't be bothered.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can definitely happen. And also, I guess there's maybe it's not then not having a purpose that's a problem. Maybe if you haven't found your purpose yet, that's okay. And maybe this is part of the same thing I was talking about, because the whole point I had this conversation, like I said at the start, was I have been guilty over the last, say, probably 6 months or so, of looking at people that don't seem to have an obvious purpose and kind of going, wanker. And I don't think that's ideal. I don't think that's how I should be at all.
No.
Because like you say, if you don't have a purpose yet, that means that you, like, the opportunity there is you can find one. And we could actually watch someone's life develop for the better, because now they've gone from having no purpose to having a purpose, and now they're fucking sweet.
Yeah.
However,
That was a big transition.
I do still think there are wankers out there. I do still think that whilst it's not appropriate to look at everyone that's not doing what you're doing and going, and making judgments on them, or seeing people that are kind of blowing in the wind, not really doing anything with their lives, just sort of wasting away, I don't think it's right to see them as a problem. I think it's right to see them as an opportunity. There are people that have a purpose that's on the satanic side of the equation. There's people that have a purpose that would ultimately do harm to the local community, I think. And I think it comes down to identity, because it's one and the same thing. We were talking about our purpose being, you know, trying to be honourable men, trying to, you know, be the standard kind of hunter-gatherer style providers, and just figuring out what we need to do to be good at that, so that we can play our part in the world and be useful.
Yeah.
That is simultaneously then become our identity, to be that man. So that's what drives us in a lot of our decisions. You know, now if we reach a tough choice, we go, what would the fucking honourable man do? Bit like lawmaking, you just say, yeah, I'm going to fucking push forward into whatever the depths of despair is.
And this decision that I'm about to make, how does that benefit those around me? You know, rather than if you've got 2 choices and it's like, oh, that's a selfish decision, that's a selfless decision.
Exactly.
You're going to take the selfless decision.
Well, here's where the issue comes, because some people, when you don't have a purpose, the risk that you run into, I think, is you start devolving into the victim's mentality. And if your purpose is based on trauma that you've experienced, you can become... First time I'm kind of wording this, so I'm probably going to fucking make an ass of this, to be fair. Some people have in their identity the idea that they are struggling through something, even if they're not. And they feel a sense of entitlement based on the fact that they are struggling, even though they're not. And I think everyone's guilty of that to a certain degree, because it has to take quite a lot of fucking trauma to be more traumatized than, like, you know, kids in World War II that watch their neighbours get bombed and stuff like that. You know, like there's always a worse story than yours, isn't there? And the people that I'm imagining when I say that there are still wankers out there, there's a couple people that like we know in real life that I've clearly got in my head right now. They probably know who they are.
Yeah.
But like, it seems like they have their identity rooted in all the bad stuff that's happened to them, and therefore they take a kind of oh woe me type of scenario. And some of them have been pretty fucking serious shit as well. Like it's not obvious that they're just being dramatic. Like it could be that actually the stuff they've been through is genuine trauma, but just the way they handle it and the way that they have decided to carry that around with them just feels like they fucked it.
Okay, I'll offer you an interesting point of view.
Yeah.
What's the difference between that person, which sounds like they are the vocal type of person, to vocalize their trauma or their situation or whatever it is, their lack of purpose, whatever, which is what you're hearing, and you're then it's kind of rubbing you the wrong way. What's the difference between that person, because they're vocalizing it, and the person that is not vocalizing it, which is the person you talked about before, where they still haven't got a purpose, or it's a different purpose or whatever, and you're totally fine with that?
So let me see if I got your question right. What's the difference between someone that whines and complains about things that they've been through and someone that doesn't whine and complain about what they've been through, even though both of them basically are in the same spot?
My question more so is, why should you be disliking the people that vocalize it and sort of being very empathetic to the people that don't?
I don't think you should dislike them. I think it's fair to categorise the vocal people as wankers, at least in our colloquial meaning of the term wankers. I don't actually think they're bad people. They're just people that have been through shit and then couldn't handle it. They couldn't break through the other side. I don't think you should dislike either. I think the problem with the person that vocalises problems is that will then spread around the community. That negativity and bad vibes will spread across the place, and it will start bringing other people down. If you've been in a room with someone that's just a whiny fucking dickhead, it's not very long that a great situation or something that could have been great sort of gets soured by the fact that there's someone there being vocal. Yep. Whereas someone who's been through shit maybe doesn't know anything that they're doing and they're just drifting through life, but is shutting the fuck up. At least they're not spreading that around. So, yeah, probably something like that.
It's a good take.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good take. It's interesting that more so. I just wanted to know where your standpoint was, and I think what you've just said there sort of highlights it in terms of they're both sort of like in the same position, but one's vocalizing it and therefore potentially spreading it, and the other person is not vocalizing it and just keeping it within themselves, which in some regard is almost worse.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
I just feel like if they're keeping it internally and they've got some serious shit going on, that's not healthy.
Well, you don't know that they're not talking about it. Like, ignoring all your problems is not the same as dealing with all your problems silently.
Correct, yeah.
So, how many people do you know that closely? Like, I tell you all of my darkest problems that I don't tell everyone about. You just don't know that many people on that level of intimacy.
Yeah, so maybe that's what it is.
So like a lot of the guys might be fucking working through some shit, and they might be talking with their brother or sister or family or best friend or whatever, and they're just keeping it away from you.
That is very true.
And if they are, like, it's a pretty brutal take, but if what they are doing is keeping it to themselves and keeping it all bottled up and whatever, at least they're not spreading negativity around, because that's likely to make their situation worse. If everyone knows you as a miserable wanker, you're not going to have as many friends, and that's not going to help you get through whatever the trauma is. As long as you don't bottle up to the point where, oh, now I'm going to get my fucking AR and walk into my local high school. As long as you're not at that level, then yeah. I mean, obviously it's important to process that stuff, but in the short term, the difference between the two, I'd much rather be the guy that shuts the fuck up and doesn't say anything.
True. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
You know what? I was thinking this the other day, that you know how easy it is to actually be seen as like a hard dude. Like all you have to do is just one thing you have to do, and that's just shut the fuck up. Like if you imagine, like I was watching, I realised this when I was watching Jason Fox do like an ice bath challenge with his friend, something to do with the rugby, and they were both quizzed. They were both in the water, and they were both quizzed, and whoever got the answer first could stay up. But if you either got the wrong answer or got the answer second, you had to dunk your head under. And the one guy that wasn't Foxy was like dunking his head in, coming up, all fucked up. And then when Fox fucking got called, he just went dunk, back up, ready for the next one. And like both of them felt the exact same. Like you're not telling me that, I know he's special forces and all the rest of it, but there's no way that water wasn't fucking cold.
Yeah.
It literally, the only game plan, the only difference he had, the only edge he had was just shutting the fuck up.
Poker face, isn't it, basically?
Yeah.
It's just and internalising it in yourself and keeping that self-talk to yourself sort of thing rather than... We talked about that, I think, in terms of like the jiu-jitsu situation.
Yeah.
You know, when you're kind of in that sort of, you know, being smushed or whatever, you feel like, making loads of noise and doing all that, you know what I mean? Whereas if you just have like a straight face, that automatically makes that person go, huh, he's pretty hard to get out of there, this guy.
A lot of the stuff that was menacing about Tyson was just the fact he'd just fucking stare at you.
Yeah.
He'd just be staring at you, just ready to fucking eat you up.
Yeah.
But he has admitted since then that he was terrified. He used to cry before fights. Like, he had all the same emotions, if not worse, because he was probably fucking mentally deranged at the time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, when it came to game time, he was just able to shut the fuck up.
Have you seen that video when he talks about going from the locker room to the ring? Mate.
Maybe.
It's good. Like, when he talks about, I think it was from his documentary or something, but he basically talks about like when he's in his locker room and he's like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
Like, I'm terrified. I've been thinking about this guy for the past 12 weeks in the training camp and he's scared me. And then he's like, as he's walking towards the ring, he's like, as I'm taking next step, I'm more confident. And then he's like, when I get in the ring, I'm a god. Nobody can beat me.
Oh, yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
I mean, that transition in mindset is like, you know, and then he's talking about when he's face to face with the guy.
Yeah.
Then he's like, I'm staring at him. And then as soon as he takes his eyes off me for that like 1/10 of a second, he's like, I've got him, I've beaten him.
Yeah.
You know, because he's taken away his eye contact, whereas Tyson's like, still staring at him, you know, like locked in, game face. So
what a guy.
Yeah, there is something to it, man. That mindset of just sort of taking everything at. No, I don't really like the term poker face. I think game face is a better phrase. I guess poker face comes from like card games and not giving away your hand and all that stuff.
I would imagine so, yeah. I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Poker face comes from poker, is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It might be tough to verify
There's
that.
many other card games that you could associate it with, but poker is the one.
They used to call it blackjack face, but people were shortening it. Nah, that was a miss.
That was a terrible joke.
That joke was a miss.
That was a terrible joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think game face is better. And
why do you not like poker face? What offends you about poker face?
It doesn't offend me. I just think that game faces are better because I just feel like it's more applicable to
everything.
Rather than just being associated with a card game.
Well, the simple question is, someone that does a marathon and like whines about it the whole time, and then for the next week is running around telling everyone that they've done a marathon, versus, which is fine, like it's still a respectable thing. Versus the person that does a marathon and just doesn't tell anyone and just fucking carries on with their week. Like, next day they're at work, they're fine. Like, which one of those is cooler to you from the offset? Like, both are impressive. But the guy that just fucking carries on is just like, mate, that's so fucking badass. Like that excites me. That's the kind of person I would like to be. Just not quite there yet. I mean, I do some stuff about telling people, but if I run a marathon, people would fucking know about it. It would 100% be getting put on stories. I'm not there yet. I'm not yet, boys and girls.
Yeah, we haven't quite found that level of humility yet. No.
So I guess the kind of conclusive point is that in terms of, like, you should basically not judge anyone. Yeah, that's pretty fucking schoolboy conclusions. We're not getting any Nobel Prizes for that fact.
No.
You probably shouldn't hate them. though you might a little bit because if they're like proper wankers, but you should distance yourself from people who are whiners. That's generally the conclusion, I guess.
Yeah, I would say so. And I don't think it's necessary. And again, I think the way to go about it as well, so that you're not, because what you can also do is you can have this perceived perception of like, that guy's a wanker, I'm going to stay away from him. Which is then quite a negative mindset in and of itself. I feel like if you just go, well, that person's dealing with stuff in a way that doesn't really, it's not the way I would deal with it, and sort of distance yourself that way, I feel like that's a bit more of a positive spin on it, rather
I feel
than just
like
being negative towards them.
You can love everyone providing that you have the correct distance from them.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, because you don't need to take everyone into like your inner circle and spread your, what we call bandwidth, so thin that you've got nothing for you and your closest. Because that's when you end up being burnt out. You end up putting time into people that don't give it back. You end up giving energy to people that won't give the same thing back. All of that sort of stuff. Whereas what you can do is be like, cool man, like have a nice day, have a good workout, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go and do my stuff.
Yeah, because even the people that I don't like, that I'm thinking of when I'm thinking about humility and the fact that there's still probably justification to dislike some people. Even those people, when I think about them right now, that they're not here. If I thought I was never going to see them again, I would be like, I wish you well. Hope you figure it out. Hope you...
And that's the key. I think that's the key, is to have that positive spin on it and just go, and like genuinely mean it, not just behind closed doors be all like, well, there, that. Like genuinely,
I do genuinely mean it.
Yeah, genuinely be like, I hope you have a good life, like, train hard, do well, whatever. Enjoy yourself. I'm going to go and do my thing. I think as long as you can spin it like that, then I think, that's how, and then you just go, I'm just going to go and do my thing, man.
All right then, so what happens, here's a fucking situation for you now. Here's Trouble Town.
Okay.
What happens when you know that you need to keep distance from someone in order to like them because they are like maximum wankers, but you are physically forced to be in the same room as them? Like, maybe it's someone that you work with that you think's a dickhead, or maybe it's someone that goes to the gym the same time as you do that's a dickhead. Like, how... And they are just in your ear. Like, you have to communicate. You have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
How do you find the amount of humility where you can still wish them well and not let that negativity affect your performance?
I think that's just a mindset thing, isn't it? I think that's just the way you perceive them. I think if you're constantly perceiving them as a pain in the arse, they're going to be a pain in the arse.
But what if they are a pain in the arse?
They're only a pain in the arse if you let them become a pain in the arse. It's all determined on how you perceive that person, isn't it?
I guess.
Because you're just letting it in. As soon as you let it in...
But how do you not let that in?
You work at it.
How?
Put yourself in the position constantly.
No, I don't want to do that. Don't fucking give me that satanic advice.
But therefore you're not going to do it, are you?
No.
Because you're not going to be able to sit here and be surrounded by loved ones and the people you really want to be with and be able to go, yeah, man, throw me in a room with anyone I hate or like I don't particularly like, and I'm going to be able to have that same mindset, because you won't. It's no different to any other form of physical exercise. When you're shit at something, you will be shit at something until you do it 10,000 hours, then you get better at it. The training of the mind is no different.
All right, that's true. But also, there's an element with... We'll see where this line of inquiry leads me, because I'm coming up with it and I'm already kind of thinking of holes in its theory. But there is times when someone's annoying you and you start getting angry, there is a point where you just cannot be in that situation more. There's no amount of fucking mindset that's going to make you not angry anymore. It's only going to get worse. And as they continue to fucking chirp in your ear and carry on with that fucking bullshit, there is going to be a point where your patience runs to zero and you end up snapping at that person and creating a whole world of shit for yourself. Yes or no?
I think you can get to a point where that isn't the case, but it takes a lot of training.
I think you can get to a point where you can practically get to that point. I think you're always going to have a tip. Everyone's got a tipping point.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess in that instance, and like if we're going to say a genuine situation, so let's say you're working as part of a team for a business, and there is that one person in your team that is constantly get like negative stuff, negative opinions, like all of that sort of thing. I guess the best way you do it is just try and sort of say something in the most polite and the most productive way to get them to try and understand that their behaviour is not correct.
That's true. That's something I didn't consider when I was like, you can actually speak to these people and try that approach, can't you? Rather than just shut the fuck up and let it happen.
Yeah, I think because again, what you don't want to end up doing is getting to, like you said, the tipping point. Which you're right, everyone does have that. I'm talking like people who train years and years and years for that stuff. They get to that point. But if you're talking about the average person, everyone has that tipping point. So I think before you get to that point, you have to realise what the situation is becoming, and then you can say, look, mate, like, your behaviour is really sort of starting. Especially, it's a bit more difficult if it's a one-to-one thing, because essentially, if no one else is saying anything, the only person that it's affecting in vocalisation is you. It's not affecting them because no one else is saying anything to them, even though they might be feeling it.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Even though they might be feeling it, they're not saying anything. So there is that kind of sense of like, do I say something? It's a lot easier to do it if there's a team. So if there's a team of you and there's someone that's being a pain, and you have to say something to them like, look, mate, your behaviour's like really bringing the rest of the team down. You know, can you just like simmer down a bit with the negativity? And if it continues on, obviously that's when it gets quite hard. I guess it's just those uncomfortable like talks that you have to have with people sometimes, you know.
That's where the Chris Voss techniques would come in, wouldn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So what you would need to do is, in an ideal world, if there's a dickhead you can probably avoid them. Because there's a lot of dickheads out there and you don't have time to physically go in and deal with every single one and try and correct their course. You just don't have time for that. No. So for most of the time, if you can see them from a distance and you know they're a knobhead, just create more distance, and that's all fine.
Yeah.
If you have to be in the same room with them, try and nip it in the bud as early as possible with a conversation. Say, look, that shit ain't going to fly here, Sundance. You better fucking sort your shit out. If you failed at that and you're listening to this in retrospect and like they're already a dickhead and you've already let it go on for months and you're just slowly, you know, getting deeper and deeper into shit, then you at least need to escape the situation for long enough to calm down. That literally means by that I mean like a day or a night.
Yeah.
Until you've calmed down enough, thought about exactly the strategy that you're going to go in with, and then have that difficult conversation in retrospect. Yes, it will be more difficult than if you had done it earlier, but that's where you are.
Yeah, the whole point there is not making a emotional reaction to said situation.
Yeah.
Always coming from a calm, logical perspective. And like you say, that requires sometimes taking yourself out of the situation to formulate what that is and then come back in.
Chris Voss in the back of his book,
Never Split
the Difference.
What a book, by the way.
In the end bit, he has a sheet where you can go through as like if you're going into a negotiation, how you can prepare.
Oh, nice.
And you just list it asks you 5 questions basically.
Is that in the physical copy?
Yeah, it's also, I just wrote it down. Like I've got my own version of it. I made notes and made my own copy of it. But I used to do it all the time when I was going into a new corporate contract or whatever. Like if I was going to be in a negotiation or discussing price, trying to close a sale, I would always write down, fill out the sheet first. But my point is, you can use tactics like that to strategize. When you're going to go in and have a difficult conversation, it's probably smart to actually put some time and prep into it.
For sure.
If it's going to be uncomfortable anyway, you may as well have a rough idea of where it's going to go. And it also, when you've planned it and you kind of know what you're looking for, things take you by surprise less. Like the Chris Voss stuff, it's fucking magic. It really is.
Yeah, if you haven't read that book,
mate, if you've never heard of the Black Swan Group, mate,
Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss.
Just
is a book
had
you 100% need to
your
read.
life changed today on this pod because you're going to go and listen to that now, and it's just good.
It would be in my top 5 books to read.
Top 3. Definitely.
Probably even top 3.
Yeah, I think actually, from a practical perspective, in terms of everyday life, it is the book of all time for me. Yeah.
There's not many that can help you out of nearly every single situation you'd find yourself in.
It's on the golden shelf, mate, for sure.
Literally,
it's on the golden shelf.
If we had a shelf up here of amazing books, it would be it would have its own fucking plinth.
Mate, that's a pretty smart decision. We might put a shelf up and put books up there. That makes us look smart as well, wouldn't it?
We're not, but
we've read a couple books. we can regurgitate information with the best of them, boys and girls.
We've read a few books and listened to a few pods.
Yeah, all right, well, there you go. Then that's that settled then. Humility, don't be a fucking wanker. Try not to fucking hate people. And if you do, you now know why, and just fucking sort it out.
Yeah, just go into every situation with as positive an attitude as possible, I think is the key, you know. And just make sure that you're not becoming the person because that's the thing you've got to be careful of, is not essentially becoming a similar person like that.
Yeah.
And breathing negativity because you hate those people, dislike those kinds of people, you know. It's about being the positive force, not the negative force.
Do you think there's ever a situation where what we've just said won't work?
Probably a few that I can't think of right now, maybe. But I don't think so. I think if you train hard enough, and I think if you put enough effort into it, I genuinely think you can be like that in pretty much every single situation you'd find yourself in.
I think so too.
You know, I don't think there's any situation that you would be like, oh yeah, let's take this explosive, emotional, negative approach over this really nice, calm, peaceful, positive approach. You know what I mean? There's just nothing that would ever, like, you know, even down to, like, you know, we've said it, but you watch like a UFC fight or a boxing match, and then the build up to it, they hate each other and they're spouting all this crap, and very rarely, very, very rarely after the fact do they not come together in some form of respectful,
because the UFC's so fake, bro. It's all about fucking... Yeah, but that's a bad example, just because...
Maybe it is.
The only reason that's a bad example is because it's so fucking scripted. Like, every time you listen to an interview, the fighters say the same fucking thing, they use the same tactics, they both hate each other because it's good for clicks and views. Like, the UFC amaze me on how much they can just rinse the exact same marketing strategy over and over and over and over again. And all UFC fans fucking buy into it, they eat it up. It's the tried and true thing that boxing did. Like, UFC have done pretty much fuck all different from a marketing perspective than any other sports in time. You get the two enemies sit down and they have their big fucking scrap, and like, you can really see it with the YouTube boxing stuff.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, well, that's even more
that
fun.
just makes it so obvious.
Yeah.
It's always been that obvious.
Yeah.
Banging on a fucking glass thing and all that. Like, mate, come on.
Yeah.
You know, I can't watch it. Like, I don't mind watching the actual fights, because then it's just a game of skill and all the rest of it, and that's good stuff.
Yeah.
The marketing stuff around it, I just can't fucking stand it.
But take the marketing stuff out of it, that essential, like, fighting over something and then coming to, like, a peaceful agreement is...
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of like the only... But there's still that peaceful... The underlying thing is you can always go into a situation and using a positive, calm mindset will always get you through it will always come out with a better outcome.
I would agree. Right, 2 questions. We've got 3 minutes. 3 minutes for this question.
Yeah.
Question number 1.
Yeah.
Our weekly challenge thing.
Yeah.
Is it actually 7 days, or is it just until we film the next pod? Because I believe we said it was until we film the next pod.
We did, but that should essentially mean that it's 7 days, because we should do one every week.
Yeah, but in this case we haven't. So is the benefit of filming pods sooner the fact that we don't have to do the challenges as long? Because that's an incentive for us to film more pods.
Then yes.
So we don't have to meditate today.
If you don't want to.
Yeah! Fuck that shit, baby, I got shit to do!
I'd just like to say I found it very beneficial and I've been doing it every day. It's now my new morning routine.
Oh, I will confess that see if you let me off this. We did 10 minutes a day, but one day I did 20 to bank a day off. That work for you?
Yeah.
You happy with that?
Yeah, I would say
cool.
so. Yeah.
Well, it's actually the other way around. I actually missed a day and then did 20, but same thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Precedent set, baby, I'm free. What's the challenge for next week? Don't make it something fucking bullshit about coffee or sugar.
Daily thing. Try and read a chapter of a book every day.
Oh, fuck that. No chance. I got no chance.
Why not?
Mate, that's fucking bear time.
But it's improving you.
What a horrible one to come up with.
You've got 10 minutes before you go to bed.
You motherfucker. It's not 10 minutes. Some of those chapters are like half an hour long.
It'll depend on what book you choose.
You've left That completely. Some of those audiobooks are like a chapter's like an hour.
You could choose fucking a Ladybird book and be done in like a minute.
That's cheating, isn't it? Ladybird books don't have chapters, you fuck. What the fuck kind of bullshit was that?
Okay, maybe not a chapter. Maybe just read like 10 minutes of a book a night. How's that?
10 minutes of a book a night.
Or in the morning.
I'm not reading. I'll do.
Fine, audiobook. 10 minutes audiobook. Whatever you want. Whatever little Weasley way you want to get out of it. 10 minutes of a book, audio or reading.
Fine.
Done.
Ugh. All right, 10 minutes of a book it is. I'm not happy about that challenge, but we've run out of time, so we've got no time to come up with another one.
No.
Thank you very much. That's all about humility. Now you know what to do. I guess we'll have a go and see if it works. Dilly dilly dee, fucking nice one. Do the outro. You do the outro this time.
You can tell he's done, can't you? Thanks for joining the Two Beast Podcast once again for episode 18. Make sure you follow us on all platforms at #2 Beast Podcast. This will be up on YouTube and Spotify. Oh, actually, last quick one. I did have someone ask if we can get this on Apple Music.
Yeah.
Somehow. We can
do whatever we want, we just don't.
Yeah, we can look into that.
Fuck you, Apple person.
We can look into that.
We'll put it on Apple Music, we will.
But yeah, currently YouTube and Spotify. Hopefully we'll try and get it on Apple as well. And as we continue to do this podcast, you might find it on all sorts of podcast places. I don't know. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. Have a good day. Peace and love, my friends.
Have a lovely one.
Thank you for listening to the Two Beast Podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast on whatever your preferred platform is. We'll see you next time. All the best.